My name is Elise Garner. I'm 31 years old, I work as a surgical tech, and I learned the hard way that some people don't try to break your marriage by convincing your spouse you're evil. They break it by convincing the world you're sloppy. They manufacture proof so clean it looks like your own mistake. Then they sit back and let your life collapse under the weight of something you didn't even do. The day my mother-in-law tried to destroy me started like a family dinner, the kind you endure because you love your husband enough to tolerate his mother's smile. We were at Ruth's house, my MIL, because she insisted on Sunday roast the way other people insist on oxygen. Her home was immaculate in a way that felt hostile. No clutter, no warmth, just polished surfaces and framed photos where everyone looked perfectly posed. My husband Caleb grew up in that house learning that love came with conditions and that peace was something you performed for Ruth's approval. Caleb and I had been married 3 years. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. 2 incomes, no kids yet, a small town home, and the kind of quiet partnership built on shared routines. Caleb was the man who made coffee before I woke up for early shifts. The man who texted me, "Drive safe," even when he knew I'd ignore it. The man who held my hand under tables when his mother started making little cutting comments and expected me to smile through them. Ruth never liked me. She never said it directly. She didn't need to. She disliked me in the passive-aggressive language of favors and concern. She'd say things like, "I just worry you're so independent. Men need to feel needed." Or, "Elise, you work in a hospital. You see so much." Sometimes people like that become hardened. She'd compliment my hair and then ask if I'd tried something softer. She'd praise my cooking and then tell Caleb how his ex-girlfriend used to make his favorite pie from scratch. She kept a mental list of ways I didn't belong, and she recited it in the tone of a woman doing me a kindness. I endured it because I believed the right marriage could withstand one bitter parent. I didn't realize Ruth wasn't just bitter. She was strategic. That Sunday, after dinner plates were cleared and Caleb was in the garage helping his dad with something, Ruth asked me to sit with her in the living room. She didn't offer tea. That's how I knew it wasn't a normal conversation. She sat on the couch with perfect posture, hands folded, her mouth already arranged into sadness. "Elise," she began softly, "I didn't want to do this." My stomach tightened. "Do what?" She reached to the side table and picked up a manila envelope. Not a cute little envelope. A thick one, like it had weight and intention. She held it out to me, and I didn't take it. "I found something," she said, voice trembling like she was the victim of the thing she was doing. "And before you try to deny it, you should know I have receipts." Receipts. The word hit my chest like a shove. "Ruth," I said carefully, "what are you talking about?" She exhaled like she'd been holding this burden for years. Then she pulled out a printed photo. It was a hotel lobby security screenshot, grainy, time-stamped at the bottom, and it showed a woman at the front desk leaning over paperwork. The woman had dark hair pulled into a ponytail, wore a fitted coat, and carried a tote bag. Ruth slid another page out. A printed hotel folio with a room number, dates, charges, and a name. Elise Garner. My name, my address. The last 4 digits of a credit card that looked like mine. My stomach went cold. "This is you," Ruth said softly, "at the Harborview Suites, 2 weeks ago, the weekend Caleb was out of town for his conference." My breath caught. 2 weeks ago, Caleb had been in Denver for work. I had worked 3 12-hour shifts back to back. I had barely slept. I had not been at a hotel. "That's not me," I said. My voice didn't shake because I didn't let it. Ruth's expression sharpened. "Don't insult me," she snapped, then immediately softened again, like she remembered the performance. "Elise, I wanted to believe it wasn't you, but the name is right there, the card number, the signature." She pulled out another sheet, a scanned signature line from the hotel's check-in tablet. It looked like my signature. Not perfect, but close enough to hurt. Caleb walked back in then, wiping his hands on a rag, smiling faintly like he expected nothing more than leftover dessert. "What's going on?" he asked. Ruth turned to him with teary eyes and held up the papers like she was doing something heroic. "I'm sorry," she said. "I tried to protect you." Caleb's smile vanished as he took the pages. I watched his eyes move over the hotel folio, the lobby photo, the signature. I watched the color drain from his face. Elise, he said slowly, and my name sounded unfamiliar in his mouth. Is this real? That was the moment that could have broken me. Not Ruth's smug sadness, not the forged paperwork, Caleb's uncertainty, because the point of proof isn't just to accuse you. It's to make the person who knows you best pause long enough for doubt to get in. I took a breath and said, "No, it's not real. And if you want to know how I know, we're going to the hotel right now." Ruth made a sound like she couldn't believe my audacity. "Why would you go there if you have nothing to hide?" Caleb looked between us, torn. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I reached into my purse, pulled out my phone, and opened my work scheduling app. 2 weeks ago, I said. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I clocked in at 6:45 a.m. each day. My badge logs and camera logs exist. I wasn't at a hotel. Ruth's eyes narrowed. Schedules can be manipulated. I looked at Caleb. "Ask my charge nurse," I said. "Ask anyone, or come with me to Harborview and ask the manager why there's a check-in under my name when I wasn't there." Caleb swallowed. "Okay," he said finally, voice tight. "We're going." Ruth stood too fast. "Caleb." "You said you had proof," Caleb cut in, and his voice was sharper than I'd heard it with her in years. "Then it can survive questions." We drove to the Harborview Suites in silence. Ruth insisted on following in her car, which told me she didn't fear being exposed yet. She believed her paperwork was strong enough to hold. The hotel was 15 minutes away, a modern mid-range place near the river that hosted weddings and conferences and people who wanted to feel fancy without paying downtown prices. The lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and expensive candles. A pianist track played softly through speakers. I walked to the front desk like I belonged there, because if you act like a suspect, people treat you like one. The desk clerk smiled. "Hi, how can I help you?" "I need to speak to the manager," I said. "It's urgent. It involves a fraudulent check-in under my name." The clerk's smile faded. "One moment." A few minutes later, the manager came out. He was mid-40s, neat suit, tired eyes, the look of someone who has handled a lot of drama and hates all of it. "I'm Daniel," he said. "What seems to be the issue?" Caleb stood beside me. Ruth stood a few feet back, arms folded, watching like she expected the manager to confirm her victory. I placed the printed folio and lobby photo on the counter. "Someone checked into your hotel 2 weeks ago using my name and card details," I said. "My mother-in-law is accusing me of cheating. I need to confirm whether that person was actually me." Daniel glanced at the papers, then at me. "Do you have ID?" I handed him my driver's license. He compared the name, then typed quickly on his computer. His expression shifted almost immediately. "Okay," he said slowly. "I see the reservation." He clicked again. "And I see the check-in." Ruth stepped forward, voice sweet. "So you can confirm it was her." Daniel looked up at Ruth, then back at me, and something in his face tightened. "Ma'am," he said to me, "can I ask you to step closer?" I did. He lowered his voice. "That's not you," he said. The words hit the air like a door slamming shut. "What?" Caleb whispered beside me. Daniel straightened and spoke louder so all of us could hear. "The guest who checked in under this name was not the person standing here." Ruth's face went stiff. "That's ridiculous," she snapped. Daniel didn't blink. "We have ID verification records," he said. "We require ID for check-in. The ID scanned for this reservation does not match Ms. Garner's photo or date of birth." My breath caught. "Can you show us?" I asked. Daniel nodded once. "I can show you in a private office." He glanced at Ruth. "Not at the front desk." Ruth's lips tightened. "I have a right." "No," Daniel said flatly. "You do not. This is a privacy and fraud issue." Caleb looked at his mother then, and I watched something shift in his eyes. Not belief yet, but the first crack in her authority. Daniel led Caleb and me into a small office behind the front desk. Ruth followed until Daniel turned and said, "Ma'am, stay in the lobby." His tone made it clear this was not a request. Ruth stopped, face flushed with outrage. Inside the office, Daniel pulled up the reservation file. He turned the screen toward us. There was a scanned ID image attached. The name on it, Elise Garner. The photo on it, a woman who looked like me if you squinted. Same hair color, similar face shape, but not me. The eyes were different. The nose slightly different. The smile wrong. The birth date was off by 2 digits. The address was close but not identical. It was a fabricated ID using my identity as a template. Then Daniel clicked to the signature log. This signature was captured at check-in, he said, but it's on a digital pad. It's easy to mimic. He clicked again. We also have camera footage. He opened a clip. Grainy lobby view. The woman at the desk leaned forward, signed, took a key card. As she turned, the camera caught her face clearly for a second. Not me. Caleb leaned closer, jaw tight. That's not Elise, he said, and his voice sounded shocked and furious at the same time. Daniel nodded. Correct. That's not her. My hands shook, not from relief but from the anger that follows relief when you realize how close you were to losing everything to a lie. What about the card? Caleb asked. Daniel sighed. The card number on file is a virtual card. It could have been entered manually. It could be stolen or generated. We flagged it after the stay because there was a dispute attempt. I stared at him. A dispute attempt? Daniel nodded. Yes, someone called claiming the charge was fraudulent, ironically. My skin went cold in a new way. Ruth had started this. The hotel folio was printed. The lobby photo was printed. The signature line was printed. How did she get them? Daniel answered without me asking, like he could see the question on my face. Ma'am, he said carefully, only a few people could access internal folios and camera stills like that. Our staff, law enforcement with a request, or the person who booked the room if they had access to the confirmation email. My stomach tightened. I looked at Caleb. He looked back at me, and in his eyes I saw the same thought form. Ruth. She didn't just find proof. She had access. Caleb stood abruptly. My mother, he said quietly, like the words hurt to say. Daniel didn't confirm, but he didn't deny it either. If you believe a family member is involved, Daniel said, you should file a police report for identity fraud. We can cooperate with investigators. Caleb nodded once, rigid. Then we walked back into the lobby. Ruth was waiting, arms still folded, face composed again. She smiled when she saw us, like she expected good news for her. Well? She asked. Caleb stepped toward her slowly, and his voice was so controlled it sounded dangerous. That's not Elise, he said. Ruth's smile froze. What do you mean? Caleb didn't raise his voice. He just held her gaze and said, The hotel manager said the woman in the footage is not my wife. The ID used was fake. The birth date is wrong. The picture is wrong. Ruth blinked fast. They're lying, she snapped. They're covering for her. Caleb's jaw tightened. Stop, he said, and the single word made Ruth flinch like she wasn't used to hearing it from him. How did you get that folio? Caleb asked. Ruth's eyes darted. A friend? No, Caleb cut in. How did you get it? Ruth straightened. I was protecting you, she hissed. Caleb's voice went lower. How? Ruth's mouth tightened, and she did the thing she always did when cornered. She went on offense. You're choosing her over your own mother, she spat. After everything I've done for you. Caleb stared at her, and for a second I saw a lifetime of conditioning in his face. Guilt, obligation, fear of displeasing her. Then it snapped. You tried to ruin my marriage, he said quietly, and you did it with fake evidence. That's not protection. That's sabotage. Ruth's eyes flashed with fury. She's tearing this family apart. Caleb didn't even blink. No, he said. You are. Then he turned to Daniel, who had stepped out from behind the desk. Can you print the ID image and the check-in details? Caleb asked. We're filing a report. Ruth's face changed then. Not anger, fear, because paper trails are harder to bully than people. Daniel nodded. Yes, I'll prepare a packet. Ruth stepped forward, voice shaking. Caleb, don't be ridiculous. This is a private family matter. Caleb looked at her like she was a stranger. You made it public the moment you printed those papers, he said. You made it legal the moment you forged proof and tried to convince me my wife cheated. Ruth opened her mouth, then shut it. She looked at me with pure hatred now. I met her gaze and said nothing. Silence is sometimes the only safe response to someone who feeds on reaction. We left the hotel with documents and a new kind of reality. In the car, Caleb didn't speak for 5 minutes. Then he said quietly, I'm sorry. For what? I asked. He swallowed. For letting her get close enough to do this. That night, we filed a police report for identity fraud and harassment. The detective listened, took the hotel packet, and asked the obvious question, Do you think your mother-in-law created the fake ID? Caleb stared at the table and said, I don't know. But his voice said he did. Over the next week, the truth came out in ugly pieces. Ruth had a friend who worked at a printing shop. Ruth had access to Caleb's old email because she had helped him set it up years ago. Ruth had been watching my social media enough to copy my style. Ruth had called the hotel pretending to be me to request copies for tax purposes. She had used a partial card number she'd found once when she helped Caleb sort mail. Then she had built the story and delivered it like a gift to her son. Proof. She hadn't expected the hotel to have ID scans and footage. She hadn't expected a manager to say the one sentence she couldn't manipulate. That's not her. When confronted again a week later, Ruth didn't apologize. She cried. She said she was scared of losing her son. She said I was controlling him. She said she did what she had to do. Caleb listened, face hard, then said, You lost me the moment you tried to destroy my wife. He cut contact that day. Not dramatically, just a boundary so clean it felt like surgery. Blocked numbers, returned mail, no visits. His father called later, begging for peace, but Caleb said, Peace with her is just silence while she plots. We changed locks. We froze credit. I replaced my driver's license. The detective warned us that identity fraud often moves in waves once it starts. Whoever used my name at the hotel may have been a separate scammer Ruth exploited, or Ruth may have coordinated it. Either way, my identity had been put into circulation like a tool. The hardest part wasn't proving I didn't cheat. That part was easy once the hotel manager showed the ID and footage. The hardest part was accepting that my mother-in-law wanted me gone badly enough to manufacture evidence. She didn't just dislike me. She wanted to erase me. And she almost succeeded because proof works best when it looks boring. A folio, a signature, a grainy photo. It makes people doubt their own knowledge because paper feels official and trust feels emotional. That's why I'll never forget the hotel manager's voice when he saw me standing there. Not loud, not dramatic, just firm, factual, final. That's not her. Those 3 words saved my marriage, not because they proved I was innocent, but because they exposed the real villain in the room.